Hello, my name is Thomas Nichols, Instructional Technology Specialist or Digital Learning Coach for middle schools. Welcome to Google Classroom Advanced for the remote learning event. Make sure that you are signed into the Q&A document. So this is Google Classroom Advanced. It's going to look more at the gradebook and a few things that I didn't cover in the Google Classroom Basics at 8:30, which, by the way, if you go to the teacher document, yeah, we're in it right now, and you go up to that table, you can click on any of the links that will work for you. But if you click on this link here, it'll bring up this document, the Q&A of the basics section. And you'll see that there's a recording from last Friday of what I covered and a recording from last Friday of what Rex covered for the elementary. There's also an About Guardian Summaries, what that means. It's a help from Google itself. I will be putting the recording I did this morning there as well. To get to Google Classroom, you can go to either of the app centers. If you're on a Chromebook, it's going to be in the bottom left as a search. The app launcher here, Google Classroom, or you can simply type in the Omnibox classroom.google.com. When you get to the classrooms area, you will see some classrooms without pictures and some classrooms with pictures. The difference is that without pictures, it means you are the teacher or one of the teachers of that class. And with the picture means you are a student in that class. The three dots, as a student, you can move it. So GT 30 hours, I'm going to move that to beginning or to end. I'm going to move it to the end. That's interesting. Because as the teacher, I could actually move things to be in front of. I don't have just the choices of beginning and end. So here I am, a teacher, remote learning. The three dots, I'm going to move it to the beginning, to the end, but now I can actually specifically place it somewhere. So after the session for remote learning, and now it is moved over. So you can rearrange the way your tiles look using the three dots. You can also rename by using the edit or add information. And you can copy if you're teaching the same content but a different time, and not have a huge classroom roster of like 200 kids, but actually each classroom would have just the students in that period, say, for example. So if you wanted to copy, you do it that way. And don't worry about having everything in place ahead of time, because you can always, whenever you make assignments or ask questions or do quizzes or put in resources and materials and content, you can choose to put in all the classes or none of the classes or a few classes. I'll show you that later. You can archive, and whenever you do that, it puts it into the archive section, which appears at the bottom of your list. And you see how they're different looking with the slashes. If I wanted to restore it, then I could. If I wanted to delete it, then I could. And let's go into one of the classes. Go to settings. This is where you can see the code to display in your classroom or to email students if you want them to join by code and not have to type in all their names. I do recommend for the remote learning event that you just go ahead and type them in. Make sure that the stream says only teachers can post or comment. The default, unfortunately, is students can post and comment. I would change that to only teachers can post or comment. Make sure Guardian Summaries is on. But the part that I wanted to get to today in the advanced is setting up your gradebook. because as you see, you have stream, which is like a blog. Anything you put pushes everything else down. Classwork is where assignments go. Even though I created this in classwork, it shows up in stream that I have posted a new question. So most students are actually going to the stream only and never to classwork. So I would do recommend that you guide your students to go to classwork to do their assignments. Getting started with Google. All right, so here's all the posts, right? I can't really move these around. I can, if I want one post to always be at the top. Whenever things get pushed down, I can move it to the top, and it goes to the top. I can't move to the bottom. I can't move to the middle. I can only move to the top. So over here in classwork, I do recommend that you make your own topics because that way things can be organized much better. And the topics, unlike the stream, in the stream you can only move things to the top. You can't move them to the bottom, you can only move them to the top. You can't put them after or before something, it's only to the top. But in classwork, you can actually put in the top what you want people to see. So if I want them to see their course resources and materials, which never change, then I can just drag and drop to the top. And now the first thing they see when they get to this classwork page is the resources and materials. And notice it changed the link over here. So these are the resources I want them to get to all the time. It could be class rules, it could be expectations, it could be links to BrainPop and Clever or online textbook. But it's a great place to store things that just do not change and need to be there always. Remote learning is what I've been doing today for this coming week. But if I do all topics, it shows everything. And at the top, it shows resources and materials. Maybe I want that at the bottom and not the top. And I can just drag and drop it. Okay, let's talk about rubric. So here's the rubric I'm using. It's one I've created. There's going to be 3 areas. Do I see what I'm expecting to see? Do I see most of what should be there? Or do I see nothing? They didn't really do anything. They're not meeting that criteria. I have 3 different criteria for this particular assignment. It's a heading. So they need to use white space appropriately. They need to be very creative and not just mundane and boring. They need to use colors that complement or complete each other or are opposites of each other or contrast nicely as opposed to are jarring. So how did I do that? All right. Which, by the way, as the student, I'm going to the assignment header using a template for an assignment. Header using an assignment. Yep, there's my rubric. I can see what's expected of me. That's interesting that I can do that. I can't give myself a grade, but I can move them around depending upon what I want to look at. So now as a teacher, how do I create a rubric? All right, so over here it says rubric, add a rubric. I can reuse a rubric that I created, or I could create my own rubric or import one from Sheets. So let's just create one here. So give it a title, do your own thing, spelling. 100, everything spelled correctly. No spelling errors. Add 70. Some spelling errors. 50. Too many spelling errors. All right, let's add criteria. So that's spelling. This one's grammar. And you get my drift. You keep illegible. All right, you get the drift. Save. And now the student can see what I'm expecting, and I can grade it from an objective from more of an objective viewpoint than just if I had no rubric to go by. What am I looking for in that grade? Now let's go back to grades.
To type and write on it.
This took all my grades, and because I had set up categories, gives me an average of the class on how well everybody's doing, but it also averages each student's grade individually. All right, so this is the one they're the teacher of, yes.
Those are all the different things that you can
in
do.
off the grade book. Yeah. All right, so there's one question that's already in there. It has no categorical weighting. It's not 10% of the grade or 50% of the grade or 40% of the grade. It's just the grade. So how do you set up your grade book? Go to the gear icon
not to show your video
and go to the bottom where it says grading.
You have the microphone.
And here are your options. First, do you want an overall grade calculation?
And then if you want to share your screen,
I would say yes. Do you want it by total points? Or do you want it weighted by category? I would go the district way, weighted by category.
So you have those options.
Do you want students to be able to see the overall grade and where they compare with other students? Sure.
Here's a neat thing. Put that.
Now add grade categories.
So just an immediate poll, like if you have
in Temple ISD middle school, we have 3 categories. Homework.
You can upload a presentation, and then go through the presentation with them. And then you can share like a YouTube video or something like that.
And that's 10%.
Just push the link in there, you can share it, and everybody can
add a category. Daily grade. And that's 40%. Add a category. Major grade test or project. And that's 50%. So now I've got my categories set up and they total 100%. Save. So now whenever I go to classwork and create an assignment, oh, that's where you can schedule the classes.
Because on Google Meet, it doesn't really track those.
Okay.
Unless you just do live streams,
So,
so then you don't have anybody in your conference.
This assignment is
shown to do, but
do
this
your
one you
own
can start recording
thing.
at the very top, and you can record this.
Give
and then
instructions.
it
What does that
actually goes
mean?
back and it saves it in school. And so the
use
students and everybody, yeah, that's what I've done.
the template provided. Okay. Create.
Yes.
I'm going to say students have their own copy. That way they don't have to make their own
Now
copy.
it's all on school.
They don't have to mess up my copy. They get their own copy. Right here was his category. This is where I can put it in the category of homework, daily grade or major grade. It's called a daily grade. And the due date is end of the week.
Yeah. My thing would be that
Let's see what this does.
have that
Assign or schedule.
Yeah.
So this schedule assignment means that it won't show up for the student until the time I want it to show up for the student. So I have all my assignments put in, and they will see them when they're supposed to see them, and not before.
Yeah.
So I can see it, and I can see that it's scheduled for later on in the week, and it's grayed out.
Somebody leaves a message from your desk,
but the student cannot see it. So notice that the draft ones do not show up. Go back to their classwork. So this assignment that says assignment, this assignment is module 9. These are in draft mode. So as a student,
Yes.
I don't see them,
Yes. I mean,
but I do see the how are you today.
and then there's actually one
I
of
view the
schools where it
question.
goes in, and
I answer
it
the
has
question.
like a whiteboard, and you can put like a presentation. It's kind of
I'm just
easier
fine.
to like manage. If you
I
like
turn
all
it
the like
in,
management parts of it, like you can mute everybody and do all that kind of stuff.
and
focus
the
on
teacher
different things. School is
now
much more
can
built
see.
into it, and I've been teaching teachers how to use that as well.
Yeah, that one has been turned in. And that person who turned it in is Temple ISD Digital Learning. And if it were
Yes,
a
I
graded
actually
assignment,
activated
then I
it
could actually
all
give it a
courses and
grade.
groups.
But it's
So if
ungraded,
you're
so
in a
it doesn't
group,
matter.
if you look at
So let's talk a little bit about
called
how you can
conferences.
differentiate. I'm going to go
There you
ahead
go.
and
So I activated that, so you click that,
what is
and
this
since
one?
and
Okay,
since you're an
edit it.
admin administrator, you can create a new
3
conference.
dots, edit.
You give it a
Only 2
title,
students
you
are
set
able to
date,
see
time,
this. And one of them
and
was
then,
digital learning.
Students would access it that way.
So,
They don't see it like you
see
see it,
here.
they can't create conferences.
Digital
Only
learning.
admins can. But you can create the conference.
I'm going to make an assignment. I'll ask another question. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Getting started. All students.
Yeah.
Ask. And digital learning.
You don't have to do it anytime. You just click create.
Can you see this?
Open a tab.
Can you see this? So yes,
and
they
then your
can.
students would have to go in, and then they would hit conferences.
Now let me go
they
back.
Would, select join conference.
And
you see
edit.
them on the left hand side.
Okay, can you see this? Let's edit it.
Okay.
So that all students cannot see it.
So click the, yep.
Or no, let's just take digital learning. Digital
and then it's going to say do a little echo
cannot see it. Everybody else can see it, but not digital learning.
It's good.
So I'm going to go back to the student view and refresh. And now this assignment was not given to me, so I cannot see it. But it was given to other students. They can see it. So you can differentiate that way.
Yes, absolutely.
And I recommend that if you have an assignment for special ed students,
your name next to it. And
let's just say this is the assignment. Can you see this?
I haven't heard any teachers say anything about this.
Over here where it says 17 students can see this.
Yeah, it will pull the name.
Make sure that only the students you want to see it can see it by clicking on them.
So that's your whiteboard
and
there. It tells you some information.
If you don't want them to see the associated regular assignment, then unselect their names from
yeah, no problem.
The regular assignment, and that way they only see the one assignment. Yeah, so if you have an assignment called Biography of George Hamilton,
you see the little hand up there,
and you have a special ed version and a regular ed version of the assignment, then on the regular ed version, do not select the student names of those who are special ed, and do not need to be confused. Which one do they do?
Looks like a hand.
Deselect those special ed students, and
then you can draw on that little whiteboard and do
the special ed teacher or the regular teacher could then give the modified assignment and then make sure that only the special ed students see that assignment. That's George Hamilton Biography modified. Does that make sense? Hopefully.
And then the very bottom one, next to the menu, the very bottom.
That's fine.
Then you can delete it, and the very bottom one.
So that's how you differentiate.